Chris Logston, who is going to represent the Maryland Historic Trust. I've met with Chris a couple of times. He's very excited about joining the board. He knew he had a conflict with this board meeting date, so he sends his apologies, but I'm going to let him do a self-introduction when he joins the next meeting in March. So, but we're very glad we have a full board now. So lots of changes, and grateful that everyone's able to join today. Before we get into the agenda, I just want to note that all the board members are on the call. So we have Ashley Workman, Stu Zapsky, Laura Freeman-Legg, Ray Morris, Michael Mudge, Ed Wenshoff, and Brad Nixon. The only one we are missing is Chris. And I would like to take a moment just to thank everyone for doing double duty in November. You not only all attended the November board meeting on the 25th, but later that evening, you were all in attendance at the River Park public meeting. That was a lot to ask, greatly appreciated. And I hope that you all felt that it was worth going to the public meeting. I was overwhelmed by the number of people that were there, given that it was Thanksgiving week. So thank you all for doing that. So we will talk a little bit more about River Park. You'll see that it's on the agenda later in the meeting. So the first order of business is to review, ask any questions, get a motion and a second for the minutes of the board meeting of November 25th, 2025. Are there any questions about those minutes? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And that is Stu? Is that
Correct.
Stu?
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. The mayor has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. Those minutes stand approved. There were also minutes taken of that public meeting on the evening of November 25th. And are there any questions about those minutes? All right. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
All right. Michael Mudge has moved. Is there a second to the minutes?
I'll second.
Ashley is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole for the financials review.
All righty. Revenue, all tenants were current for November and December rent payments. Parking, we collected for November and December was over $9,500. So that was excellent. We did receive $28,521 from the county, which is their portion of the ARC grant for trails. And we also received the Fairfield Inn payment of $131,614.91 in November. So revenue brought in stands at $283,707.58 for November and December. As far as expenses, payroll, we had 2 payrolls in November and 3 in December. Payments were as expected for that time frame. We did have to make a payment to the state for Department of Information Technology, which was $26,000 plus. And we also made a $21,000 payment to Acorn Hill for work on the management grant or management plan. Sorry. The regular operating expenses were a total of $202,501.27, which was paid out in November and December. And that was both general and special funds. And as always, on your spreadsheets, the total amounts are at the end columns. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Nicole. Anybody have any questions? I just a question that I would have. You said there's $9,500 in revenue for, is that both months for the parking, Nicole?
Yes, for November and December.
Yeah, and any sense, is that like an uptick from the previous year? Because whenever I go down there, it always looks like there's hardly any parking, if any parking.
Right. Well, October and November would have been the November and December payments. So October, busy with the train. November, still busy with the train pretty much. So that was with the payments that we got for November and December. So it's shifted a month. It's not really like a straight November, December timeframe. December is definitely going to lower because we usually don't charge for parking for that. So I would anticipate that to not be too big. It is fairly typical, that amount of money for those 2 months. So yeah, I could pull it up here and see whether it was.
I guess what I'm thinking is, the downtown mall is so beautiful now.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if that's going to be an uptick going forward with more people trying to find parking and using the parking facilities at Canal Place to access the mall. I just think it's probably going to be a trend. I would hope it would be.
It's up from last year. Last year's amount was 8,700 for those 2 months. So it's up a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Okay. Yep. Good.
So,
Very good. All right. Okay. Anybody have any questions on the financials? If not, is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
All right. May I
Second.
have a motion? Stu has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Nicole. Motion passes. All right. Dee Dee has sent out, as always, a very detailed executive director's report. I would open it up for any questions on that report. Anybody have any comments, questions? Okay, I'm going to ask Dee Dee. I asked Dee Dee if she could share with me kind of where we are in the timeline for the approval. And it's going to be important that we think about that as we talk about kind of where we're going and how we're going to get there and our committee structure moving forward. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dee Dee, I'm just interpreting the timeline. Still a lot of approvals, a lot of processes to get through. But the end of the day is we're looking at July 2027 as the end game for that approval process. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's the worst possible scenario. I mean, I hope we get it done beforehand, but again, the comprehensive plans, like some of them haven't even been started from what I understand. So I got to wait on all that.
Right. So I guess what I want people to think about is, and let me ask another question first. So we really, our boundary expansion to include the whole county would not be official until the plan is finalized. Is that correct?
Finalized and approved by the Maryland Heritage Area Authority. Yes.
Okay. Just so that we're all on the same page and we all understand that we are still operating with the footprint of the heritage area that we currently have, and we will operate with that footprint until the plan meets its final approval. Okay, all right.
Right.
Very good, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for me, so I was not thinking something differently, and so the whole board understands. We're still in that process. The boundary hasn't been expanded. It will not be expanded until we get there. Okay. Based on that, are there any questions about that?
Dee Dee, how involved is the Department of Planning in that? Like for Western Porter, we haven't started our comprehensive plan, and I think Lona Koning, I'm assuming Midland and Luke are probably in the same boat that I am in. And I know in the past ones, the Department of Planning did help us with that. It doesn't seem like maybe that's not an option this year.
Yeah, I can't speak for the Department of Planning, but I do not think from when I talked to Dave Cotton that their regional office is helping out a lot this year. I think things kind of changed with how they work out of that office, but David did say, you know, if anybody had any questions or whatnot, to contact him. I mean, I talked to Secretary Flora down at Pace, and I told her our situation, that we were, you know, going countywide and we were waiting on all the comprehensive plans to be completed so we can get that approval. So they all understand the situation.
Thanks, Laura, for that question. And anybody else have a question about the planning or the process? All right. Okay, thank you. The next is Ed with the National Park Service report.
Yes, hello. Not a lot of updates for us. We're still continuing with various projects park-wide. We have a new project coming up for some tunnel work. We've been at mostly in Washington County. We have 2 tunnels in Washington County that are going to be repaired. Of course, this past weekend, we've been dealing with snow for the 184 miles of the park. And you may have seen in the media, we're also working with DC Water at the other end of the park for a sewage leak in that area. So that's been a big project for this whole past week. We're good to go for our budget for the upcoming year. So we've been funded through September 30th in the Department of the Interior, but it hasn't worked its way to the park shed as far as our numbers, but we do have our budget in place for the year. So I think that's all I have.
That's great news on the budget. Sometimes we hold our breath on those things. Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Any questions for Ed? All right. Okay, we're going to old business. First item is the River Park update. I think there's some things to share. Dee Dee, I'm going to ask you to jump in there first and you know, share what you would like to, and then I probably have a couple of comments as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be repetitive, but just so everybody knows, we're at the 60% design phase. That's been submitted to State Highway Administration, so we're going to wait on their comments, which it's great news that we're that far. We did have on-site meetings this past Friday with folks from the Army Corps of Engineers and the Maryland Department of the Environment. From what I understand, those meetings were very helpful as far as permitting and approvals go. The fact that they were all up here and saw exactly what they needed to see to maybe hurry the approval and permitting processes along. So I actually got up here after they were finished, but I talked to John DeFonso. He said it was very worthwhile, and he got to walk the whole thing with them. So I think that was good news. The other thing that I wanted to share, I did find out also at Pace that we did not make the capital budget for the upcoming fiscal year, and that actually it's not going to, our dam removal part of the project's not in the capital budget until 2031. So until then, we're going to have to keep trying to find grants of some sort to move that part of the project along. It seems like we just always have trouble finding dam removal funds. So unless that something changes, that wasn't real good news for the River Park. The other good news is Robin Summerfield had shared, and I was just looking online, it looks like our $500,000 that was going to go toward sediment testing must have passed the House, and I guess it goes to Senate now, so that'll be good news. That's all.
Okay,
Colleen,
Yes.
the appropriation has been signed. It's the same appropriation that funds the Sino Canal.
Uh-huh.
So it's
wow.
law.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Robin actually announced that at a meeting the afternoon of Pace. We were all thrilled. We are absolutely thrilled with that. Thank you for all the work you've done to get us there. I mean, it's excellent news. And I'd like to, I have a couple of comments on the PACE meeting. I did not stay for PACE, but I was there for a meeting that TGCC and Jennifer Walsh had hosted. They did 3 sessions, one on the North-South Appalachian Highway, one on the George Fund monies, and the middle session was all about the River Park. And Jennifer had put together a very interesting panel about the River Park. I think what she wanted to do, since there was the public meeting in November that the chamber hosted, I think what she wanted to do is bring in people who could talk about not just those huge numbers, Ashley, that you talked about, which are just staggering numbers, but what it means for businesses. And so Michelle Martz, who's a major employer with the Western Maryland UPMC, talked about the value to workforce and bringing quality people in, having an amenity like the River Park. Mandela spoke from a small business perspective. And it was just a very good panel that gave a different perspective. And I have spoken to Jennifer since that session, and she's very much interested in taking, yet again, another look at the value of the River Park to the membership of TGCC at a meeting sometime this year. She's not quite certain when that meeting would be. I think the bottom line is, she and her organization, just like Julie McCoy and the chamber, absolutely understand the impact that this project is going to have in growing our business community and growing our quality of life. And I'm very, very grateful to have them kind of spearhead these perspectives. And we've been working internally, Dee Dee for a very long time, Robin for a very long time, Ray for a very long time. But it now is bubbling out into the community, and some very influential business members of the community that want to learn more, want to know how to support it. So the momentum is absolutely building. And I think we can't let up on that momentum, but I was very pleased with that. The one thing, and Dee Dee already mentioned this, I think we have to kind of reset a little bit how we look at this project. If we're not in the capital budget until fiscal year 31, that's a few years down the road. And as Dee Dee said, if we don't get any grants to get into phase 2, which is dam removal, that is kind of where we're going to be. It's a few years out. So I think there's a little confusion on the part of the public that as soon as we get phase 1 done, we'll be ready to go to phase 2. So we really need to think about how we talk about this project and how we work towards. Obviously, it's great news if it's in the capital budget for 31. Better news if we can find a way to fund that dam removal. So it's very important. I know that Ecologics, which is the primary consulting firm working on this, is really foraging for grant opportunities. I would say if any of us have any contacts, any thoughts about that, feed those to Dee Dee so she can feed those to Ecologics, and keep the project moving forward. So, and if anybody has any questions about any of that, please, now's the time to ask them, or any thoughts. We'd like to open it up for your thoughts at this point.
Dee Dee, is the 60% plan, we have that in a format yet? A report or presentation? I got the special use permit request, just to check the boundary and stuff for the geotech work. So I want to review that in line with the 60% proposal if we could.
Yeah, I can send you all the information I have, but I think it was yesterday, maybe today, received that application. I don't have the original, it wasn't signed. And then there was a summary of comments from, I guess, the meeting the other day on site. I can send you what I have, but I know it's just in the review phase right now.
Okay. Yeah, whatever you have, we're taking a look at what we got from the Corps and from Marcy about the geotech drilling. So we can get that permit moved
Yeah,
along.
that's no problem. I'll keep you. I'll send you everything we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed, for the question. Anybody else?
Dee Dee, real quickly, remind me, have we engaged American Rivers?
Yes, I I reached out to them last week after we had a progress report on the river park. I reached out to them and basically they said we're understaffed. They're involved in so many other projects that they would write a letter of support for this one, but they really don't have time to get involved. I mean, it all boils down actually to kind of the same thing we run into when we apply for various federal applications. There's a whole bunch of money for dam removal and whatnot, but it's like we're not critical enough, meaning we don't have enough of the right kind of fish for fish passage, and we don't have really a dam safety issue. So it's like we're kind of on the cusp. We're almost there, but we never get approval to submit to the feds. We are going to keep trying for like Chesapeake Gateway money and anything like that comes through. But I've tried American Rivers. I'm going to go meet with Department of Natural Resources Fish Passage on the 25th. At least I requested a meeting with them to see if we can move forward, and also with Sandy Olick's group, who I talked to at Pace. So doing everything in my power.
Thanks, Ashley. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions about where we are?
Edie, do you have a ballpark figure on how much money we would need to get rid of the dam?
It's been estimated at $4 million. And at that time, it included the engineering and design to remove the dam. And then we do have the separate funding. Well, we're waiting for approval for the sediment testing, but that's what they're saying it's going to cost, $4 to $5 million. By 2031, Brad, I don't know. It might go up, might go down. So I just keep saying, and after that panel discussion, we were so busy at the Pace, at the display. I mean, literally didn't hardly move from that spot because there were so many people coming over to us saying, hey, this is a great project. We didn't know it was this, far along. We want to support it. But the fact that when we had that economic impact study done, I mean, this river park at best right now is estimated to cost $30 million. The first year that this park's going to be open, they've estimated that we're going to generate over $40 million in state and local taxes. So it essentially would be, if you look at it like that, would be paid for like that. A return on investment is amazing. And I think that's low. I think it's going to be much higher considering what Ohiopyle gets and whatnot. So I think if people look at that from that perspective, it's it should continue to generate support. Hopefully we can find other funding.
Thanks, Brad. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Obviously, this will be on our agenda, board agenda, until it's built. And we're going to talk a little bit more about maybe a different approach to kind of staying on top of the project when we get into our committee conversation. So, but I appreciate all the interest, and Dee Dee's absolutely right. It was overwhelming. It was an overwhelmingly positive, just like the public meeting in November at the PACE session. It was overwhelmingly positive. Somebody came up to me after and said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." And this is a major business in Allegheny County. So the more we can get out that ROI, those numbers, I think the more the momentum and just the overwhelming support that's going to be required to get this done. We just need to continue to do that. So, all right. I think we are now into new business. So we have fiscal year 27 project grants. And is that, Dee Dee, is that you, Kim?
That's me. I'm just reminding everyone that the Maryland Heritage Area program for those people within the boundaries of the Heritage Area, that the project grants are open. The intent to applies are due February 2nd of 26, and then the applications are due March 31st of 26. So the applications, I think the link's on our website, but it's on the Maryland Heritage Area Authority website as well. So if anybody knows of anybody that needs to apply for capital or non-capital grants, now's the time to do it. And as always, they can contact our office for any questions or help they may need.
Okay, any questions for Dee Dee on that? All right, ethics filing.
That's just me reminding everybody that it's that time of year. I'm sure you all got notification. And so if you can please fill out your ethic reports as soon as possible, that would be great. Thank you. That's all.
All right. Any questions on that? I think it's pretty straightforward. I haven't done mine yet either, so I'm behind, but all right. So I've talked to almost every board member about this. I've missed a couple of you. My apologies for that. But the idea of committees of the board is something that's been on my mind since I joined the board in May of last year. And I was given the sheet that was sent out to all of you about the committees that I will just say are on paper. And I talked to Dee Dee about this several times, you know, which committees have met, how often do they meet, what do they do? And basically, we came to the conclusion that for the most part, the committees that you have on paper, that paper that was sent to you, have not been meeting. And with the exception, I think, of the grants committee, which really has a very strong purpose, that money comes in, it has to be awarded. So therefore, that's an absolute committee. But I wanted to have the conversation with the board, get your thoughts on really what are the committees that we should have as board committees that meet our mission and meet our goals. There's, in my mind, no sense in having committees on paper if they don't function, if they don't support what we're trying to do. So the committees that we have on paper right now are grants, events, real estate, marketing and promotion, and River Park. So we should have a conversation about those. And also, if there are committees that we don't have on paper that we might want to consider. Let me give you two caveats. Number one, any committee that we have, according to our bylaws, must be chaired by a member of the board. So if we had, just as an example, the real estate committee, that committee must be chaired by a member of the board. Non-board members can be a part of that committee. They just cannot chair it. So that's number one. Number two, the only committee that is named in our bylaws is the executive committee. And to my knowledge, it has never met or hasn't met in a long time, certainly hasn't met since I've been on the board in May. That committee is scripted in the bylaws as being the chair, the vice chair, and a third board member named by the chair. We are currently without a vice chair. I do hope to have a vice chair early in this year, and I do intend on having an organized executive committee. My idea would be that the exec committee would meet in the odd months that the board does not meet, kind of serving as a filtration system, a sounding board for Dee Dee and her staff, kind of looking at issues as they come down the pipeline. So with those thoughts in mind, what I would like to do is open it up to the board to talk about the committees, the ones on paper, the ones that aren't on paper we might need. So I will be quiet and would love to hear from all of you.
Well, I'll jump in because I like to talk.
Thank you, Barry.
I think I talked to you, Colleen, probably last in the line of you speaking with others. And from what I gathered, it sort of seemed like a consensus that with the marketing and promotion, with the hiring of Kim, that committee was created before we had somebody to do marketing. So that kind of reasons for its existence has kind of been solved. And Dee Dee and her crew seem to be doing a great job with the events. I'm not sure how we could, I mean, if you need me to move a table, just give me a call, Dee Dee, and I'll run down and move a table for you. But I don't know if we need to have an organized group meeting for that. That's my 2 cents to get the conversation started.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Anyone want to build on that?
I think what I hate to be oh yeah, Brad made a good point there, but I think he's right. I look at those and think staff has really done is doing a good job and is capable of handling those. And as he said, if they need any help, they just need to ask us and let us know. I think the river park is something I think that is good to have a committee on that, just so we keep it, because that's our main priority, and if that's your main priority, it seems to me it makes sense to have that as a standing committee at this point. But now when it comes to the grants, I'd almost look to Dee Dee and say, do you need help from a committee to help you find grants? I mean, I know we all get sort of absorbed in our own little worlds on what grants opportunities we're looking for the organizations that we lead. But do you need any help from us, or is that just a phone call with an advice rather than a committee?
Well, the grants committee, although, they could help in seeking out grants, it's mostly for when we have projects that come in for the Maryland Heritage Area Authority, the capital grants and the non-capital, and also the mini grants. And because it's required that we rank those grants according to heritage priorities and heritage scoring. So I have to have a committee that ranks those and prioritizes grants and approves grants. And we submit them on to the Maryland Heritage Area Authority, and they send them to a state panel. And so I definitely need that committee. That is a no question committee.
Okay.
And I
Dee,
always,
I think that committee has to have a minimum of, is it 5 or 6, or does it depend on?
well,
There.
I mean, it probably is 5. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't know there was a requirement, but I like to get as many people as I can on it, just that represents even the county. So
Right.
people with that background. So I like at least 5.
That being said, I think if any of you ever come across a grant that you think might work well for us, definitely let Dee Dee know so she can say, oh yes, maybe we've already applied for that, we've already heard about it, or haven't, and can certainly get either Ecologics to apply for it on our behalf, or we can do it ourselves. So more grants is always good. Except for when you have to write them, but
And administer them.
That too.
That's even worse.
All right, any other thoughts? Some of you I know had some really great thoughts when I talked to you, and now's the time to kind of share them. What we want to do is get to a place where we leave the call and say, yeah, we're going to have those 4, we're going to have those 5, whatever the number is, because this will be the year that we start, working as committees to support the things, the projects or the grants, that review process that is so critical that Dee Dee talked about.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything that's been said before. I will say I think the River Park definitely needs a committee to oversee it. Just because I just know from looking at our meetings that so much changes so fast on that. It would be good to have a dedicated group helping Dee Dee and her staff watch over that. But I also think, like, especially with us expanding the heritage area, that might be worth getting a committee to just kind of oversee that too, because that kind of is the 1B to the River Parks 1A. Getting some board members together on a committee to help get that expanded, but then also help with anything that requires too.
Thank you, Michael. So we'll add that one as a possibility for further consideration, the Heritage Area Committee.
I think a heritage area committee would be a fantastic idea, because I think we probably also need somebody to go to the public meetings of the smaller municipalities, to see where everybody's at with their comprehensive plans, and if they have additional questions with what they need to do with that. I think there's going to be some assistance needed.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Okay, the one that we hasn't been brought up, and I just want to throw it out there, is real estate. And Stu and I did talk a little bit about this. You'll all recall that there was a real need for the real estate committee, i.e. Stu, who is the only member currently of the real estate committee, to take a look at a new lease structure, new lease agreement. And we pretty much overnight pulled Stu into that. And he did a wonderful job of kind of looking at it and bringing something back to the board for their consideration. So I'd like to open it up. And Stu, please chime in here. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you were a worker bee on that particular topic.
And for the record, I meet with myself very often.
You always keep good company, Stu.
I think what we should probably do, though, agreed. I think, and I've tried to consider this people that aren't conflicted in this area, though, but to come up with three or four of us that are familiar with the rents in the district, and with regards to structure, and it'd be nice to have some of it's just not rocket science, quite frankly, and we're a specific market with regards to the location of the real estate. But I think it'd be good to have three or four of us that are in the industry, but again, not conflicted with personal interests. And those that not just on the board, but off the board, more importantly. So we need to put our heads together. If anybody has any thoughts there with regards to that.
Okay, thanks, Stu. Okay, anything else? I don't want to cut off the conversation at all. And again, I appreciate individually talking to most of you about this. I think it's going to be pretty important to have the committees, with the knowledge that, some of you are going to have to chair these committees. That's just, the way the bylaws are written. So I guess my second request is to be thinking about that. Also thinking about, I would like to have every board member, whether you chair it or not, serve on a committee. I think that that's going to be important. I will say that I have had a conversation with Michael Mudge, because Dee Dee convinced me that it is the must absolutely have a grants committee. I understand that. And Michael has served on that committee. And I did ask him if he would chair that because that is like front and center and it's going to be happening pretty quickly. And I'm grateful that Michael agreed that he would chair that. I know there's some processes and just information that needs to flow back and forth. But if you're all in agreement, that is an absolute committee. And Michael, I appreciate your willingness to serve as the chair of that. So let me go down what I've heard today. Grants committee seems pretty unanimous. We must have it. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Michael. Real support for a reconstituted River Park committee. I looked at the names on that list. They were a little different than the original list. And what I would say is just echoing your comments, Mayor Morris, is that it's going to take a lot of people to get this thing moving forward. So if you have an interest on the River Park Committee, please let Dee Dee or me know, but I think that's a no-brainer. The Real Estate Committee, thanks to, I like your idea of, let's think about people who could complement you as the board member on that committee who there are no conflicts of interest, but have some interest and knowledge in real estate and kind of merchandising, I think, because that's what we're dealing with, the shops at Canal Place. And then there's the idea of the heritage area that Laura just raised, and several of you have talked about that. And Brad, I know you and I talked about that as well, as being kind of the next big thing. The River Park is hot and heavy right now, but we will be an much expanded heritage area with obligations, responsibilities. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4 committees: grants, real estate, River Park, heritage area. Is that correct? Does that seem right?
Yeah, do you need to add the executive committee to that list?
Exec committee is in the bylaws. We will have that. These are discretionary committees I'm talking about. The bylaws dictates that we have an exec committee, so we will have one of those. Absolutely. But the others are what supports our mission and goals. So I'm seeing nods of head. Grants, real estate, River Park, heritage area. All right, we have a chair of the grants committee. Stu, I think you're it, buddy, on real estate. I think River Park and heritage area, maybe let's think about that. Please, if anyone's, really anxious to serve in a chair's role on either of those, we'd love to talk to you. We'll be building the plane while we're flying it a little bit, and that's okay. I like doing that. So good. Thank you all. Thank you all for talking to me individually and then coming together as a group. I think it's a very good start. So anybody else have any thoughts about these committees they want to share before we leave the topic? All right, Ray, I gotcha. All right. I think if there's no other business, open it up for public comment. Anybody non-board member would like to make any comments, offer any feedback? All right, it's going once, going twice. All right. Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Anybody interested in signing off?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
That was me.
All right, Michael did. All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much. Again, just one more. If you're interested in any of these committees, either chairing or serving on them, please let me know or Dee Dee know. By the time we meet in March, I'd like to have these constituted to some degree. And we'll always reserve a time in our agenda if a committee needs to report out. All right? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank
Stay
you.
warm.
Good.
Stay warm.
So, yep.
Bye.
Bye.